I'd like to call the East ChinaTownship Board meeting for October 21st, 2024 to order, please. Clerk, please call the roll.
Supervisor Westro.
I am here.
Clerk Smith here. Treasurer Hart.
Here.
Trustee Babel. Here. Trustee Blackstock.
Here.
Trustee Richley.
Here.
Trustee Knox absent. Pledge allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, agenda before you tonight, I don't have any changes, deletions, additions, so.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you, Mr. Richley, for support.
Support.
Ms. Hart. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes, same thing, attached minutes. Suggestions, I don't have any motion to approve.
So moved.
Mr. Richley, for support.
Support.
Ms. Babel, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Presentations, East China School District Rep. It's cool.
Is it okay if we share some information with you?
You can, and I don't think the podium works, just talk a little loud. Right?
Yeah.
You guys can still be there if you want, that's fine.
That's all right, I'll use it as my
Yeah, exactly.
landing zone
Just
here.
talk a little louder so they can.
Yep. Good evening. My name is Suzanne Sabula. I'm the superintendent for East China School District, and with me this evening is Angela Gleason. She is the director of finance for East China School District, and she's passing out some information on what I'm going to be sharing tonight, and that is that the East China School District on the November 5th ballot has a proposal for a building and site sinking fund for East China School District. And to start my information sharing tonight, I'm going to go back a little bit and talk about the fact that East China School District has had declining enrollment for many years. Over a decade of classes we're graduating are about 100 students more than the kindergarten classes that we have coming in. So we've been navigating this declining enrollment for many, many, many years. And there are two big pieces to this declining enrollment. The first piece is the square footage of schools that we need for a declining enrollment in student population is not as great. So we needed to address the fact that we don't need as much square footage in our schools. And we also needed to address the fact that the schools that we currently have needed some upgrades to them. So we went through the strategic planning process in East China School District in 2017. And the number one item that came out of that process is we needed to have a plan for this declining enrollment and how we were going to address our building situation, which was they needed to be upgraded and we didn't need as much square footage. So the first plan that we put forward as a school district was to have a central high school at the Meisner location where our Performing Arts Center, our stadium and all of that is located. And that proposal of combining St. Clair and Marine City did not pass. So we went back out to our communities and said, what about this proposal did you like? What about it did you not like? Because we have to address this declining enrollment. And they said, pretty much in a nutshell, as long as you don't combine St. Clair and Marine City, we'll entertain any plan you bring out there. So the plan that we did come forward with and that passed in March of 2020 was that we were going to reduce, we're going to get rid of some of our school buildings, which one was not in use at the time, which was my old middle school in St. Clair was sold, and then Eddy Elementary was sold, and Gearing Elementary was sold. We are still currently occupying Gearing Elementary in St. Clair, but this is the last year that elementary will be open. Next year, the students and staff in that building will move to St. Clair Middle School, which is on Yankee Road, and that will become St. Clair Elementary, St. Clair River Elementary. The students, our secondary students in grades 6 through 12, will be going to what is currently St. Clair High School, and that will be a 6 through 12 campus, just like Marine City is a 6 through 12 campus. So that identified or addressed our need to reduce the square footage of space that we're using in our school district. The other piece, once that, thank goodness that bond passed and we were able to upgrade the facilities and build onto them where we needed to, like at St. Clair High School, to get the 612 campus. The other piece of that is we need to have a sinking fund to support the building repairs and upgrades, along with some other items I'm going to talk about in just a minute. But when we started talking about a sinking fund for the school district, which is a terrible name, sinking fund, but that is the legal name, Building and Site Sinking Fund, people would ask us, we just passed a bond in March of 2020 for $112.9 million. What were those dollars used for? So we put together, a lot of time was spent on identifying exactly what the bond dollars were used for and where the sinking fund identified needs were. So on a sheet, I think was mailed out, but it's also here in one sheet form, we have the blue stars, which identifies what bond project that the bond money paid for, and the orange circles, which is the identified sinking fund needs. So we wanted to be real clear about, the fact that those bond dollars were amazing and they allowed us to upgrade and repair facilities, but it didn't address, and bond dollars are a one-time influx of money. Once they've been used for the purpose that they were passed for, they're gone. They're not there anymore, where a sinking fund would be renewal. It's a 10-year renewal and would continue to be there. One of the important pieces of this is East China School District has had a sinking fund in the past, but the sinking fund was not as many mills as we're requesting with this bond proposal. And there's a reason for that. The sinking fund rules and regulations have changed over the years. So now, not only can we use sinking funds as upgrades and repairs to buildings as an allowable expense, but they can be used for safety and security, technology upgrades, and bus repairs and purchases. So the district has gone out for, in the past, for a bus bond and a technology bond. That would no longer need to happen because those allowable expenses have been expanded and can all be used within the sinking fund dollars that are being proposed. So now we have safety and security, technology, bus repair, replacement, and the repair and upgrade of our school facilities. So that is the reason that the district is looking for this proposal for our school district, because we want to be able to protect the general fund dollars that come into our school district, to keep those in our classroom. So the expenses that we incur for buses, for building repair and upgrades, safety and security, and technology could be paid for as an allowable expense out of a sinking fund, and the dollars we receive from the state for our general fund for our classrooms can stay in our classrooms. Now, the school district's budget is about 87% of it is personnel costs, salaries and benefits. So anytime you're looking to balance a budget, a school district budget, and you need to cut something, we don't make a product. We educate wonderful young human beings, and when you start looking at cutting, you're looking at cutting people. That is 87% of our budget. So when we have big repairs or we have big purchases to make, we want to protect the dollars we get from the state for the general fund and use a sinking fund to pay for those things. And at this point, I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Gleason to talk about the little chart that's right down here.
Right. So I'm Angie Gleason. I'm the finance director for East China School District. And what Mrs. Sibula had mentioned is 2.75 mils for 10 years. That generates just about $6 million based on the taxable values when we were putting the information together. And on the debt comparison chart on the flyer that I shared, you can see that the school district is currently at 2.34 mils, and that covers a very small portion, 0.08, I believe, are the mills for our bus bond that's finished this year. And then the balance is for our 2020 Series 1 and Series 2 debt. So with the addition of the 2.75 mils, it would put us at 5.09. So as you can see, that still puts us about third in the area with other school districts that have sinking funds. And I want to mention as well that what's tied to this, again, these mills are levied on our taxable value. And we do have the highest taxable value in the area. 42% of our taxable value is from the top 10 highest taxpayers in our area. The majority of them are utilities. When you compare our taxable values to the other districts in the area, you have to take into consideration that we have DTE in our backyard, and they are 32% of our total taxable value. So if we don't levy debt or sinking fund, we are not utilizing the value that we have at hand.
So I like to always say that when I speak to groups, that a lot of times they'll say that we have DTE in our backyard. We should be, flush with money, or we somehow get more money. That is not the case. It was the case prior to Proposal A being passed. That's how school districts were funded. That is no longer how school districts are funded. How we leverage DTE or these other high taxable value properties is if we levy mills against them. And then they pay on the property of the value of the property, and that is very helpful to us. But right now, East China School District is paid on a per pupil funding model, as every district in Michigan is, and we get $9,608 per student. That is that general fund dollars that I was talking about that we like to protect and not have to pay for the other items out of. We want that to go to our classrooms. This year, when the state released their budget, we were anticipating
$241
increase from that $9,608. So all of our budgeting and planning included that $241 increase. When the state released their budget, it was a $0 increase. So we're having to quickly, redo and relook at our budget and how it's being allocated because that increase was not included. And we're at the mercy of the state of Michigan as far as how our funding goes. With a sinking fund, those are local dollars, just like the bond, those stay here in the school district. So we don't have to worry whether or not Lansing is going to give us an increase in foundation allowance in order to pay for items. If we need to purchase a new bus, we would have our sinking fund to pay for that. If we had something, a roof or a catch basin, recently we've had a fire suppression system that needed immediate repair. I don't know if you were at St. Clair's homecoming game at the stadium, but our water system went out. We had to bring in, specialty repairs on that. All of those items would be paid for out of a sinking fund, and we would not need to touch our general fund dollars to do that. So one of the items, two more items that I'd like to mention is one thing I think is really important. The state of Michigan, it's the second paragraph on the FAQ document. The state of Michigan does not provide a specific budget for funds to repair or improve school buildings, buy buses, buy technology, or any of those things. We're supposed to budget that all out of the $9,608 that they give us per student. Now some states, Ohio for instance, does provide building and site monies to their school district, but the state of Michigan does not. They expect us to levy that in our local dollars, and right now in St. Clair County, there are only two school districts operating without a sinking fund. It's KPAC and East China School District. It's the funding model for us to pay for those items outside of the classroom. So right now, our fleet of buses, we have 30 buses. And
well, we have 35, but as far as the replacement, as far as the calculation used to come up with 2.75 mils, we plan to replace 30
buses. So those over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
So those bus costs would need to come out of our general fund dollars if a sinking fund is not available. We are now a one-to-one school district. When we were doing our planning, one of the things our community asked for is more connectivity for our students online. They now have Google Classroom for everything, and all of our students have their own computer. K through 6, they're in their classrooms, and 6 through 12, they get to take them home. Those computers, those Chromebooks have to be purchased every year. and they're a sinking fund eligible expense. So the number one reason for asking for this proposal for our school district is so that we can protect the dollars that are in our classrooms. Some of the things that we've been able to do over the last few years is we have a safety and security director. We have 2 safety specialists. They're all at all of our secondary campuses. We have an SRO at the Marine City campus. We have a social worker in every school building. A few years ago, we had 3 for the whole district. We have interventionists that are working ELA, English Language Arts, and Mathematics at our middle schools and at our elementary buildings. Those are interventionists are for students who are struggling, any student. Special ed student, general ed student, if they're struggling, an interventionist will help them with the topic they're struggling on and get them back into the classroom as quickly as possible. So all of those things are what we're trying to protect our general fund dollars for, and the other items listed would be sinking fund eligible expenses. So is there anything that...
I guess just to piggyback on what you just mentioned about all these additional services and staff that we're able to provide these additional services to the students in the classroom, it kind of goes along with our funding over the last 5 years. You know, we get the question a lot is, okay, you have decreasing enrollment, but your revenue and expenditures have increased over the last 5 years. Right now, our revenue and expenditures are right around $53 million, and $7 million of that is tied up in categoricals or grants that in order to receive the funds, we have to spend the allocated expenditures. A lot of those help support some of the programs that we were able to bring in, as far as like, we've had mental health grants, we've had safety and security grants, of course, ESSER dollars over the last 4 years. Those are some of the things that when you look back and compare the 2020 revenue to the 2025 fiscal year revenue, that you're seeing those increases. Those are the types of things. This year, it's $7 million of that 53 are categoricals that we don't receive the revenue unless there's the expenditure to offset. So hopefully that helps. Yes.
Yep. So I know that was a lot of information, and Angie and I talk about this a lot, and we're involved with it a lot. So are there any, sometimes we forget to mention things, but is there anything that we could ask or answer questions about or provide additional information on?
Yeah, I'll check that over. I just have one quick one. St. Clair River, is that the old middle school, St. Clair? Is that
St. Clair River Elementary is going to be the current St. Clair Middle School.
right?
So on Yankee Road, it's a middle school,
I
yeah.
wasn't sure, I've never heard it yet, so.
Yeah, St. Clair River Elementary, we
It
have
turns into one K through 5, right?
K through 5, yep. All of our elementaries will be back to K through 5.
Okay. Mr. Blackstock, any questions?
Did you mention to the general public where they can view this?
Oh, yes, thank you very much. So all of this information is on our website, right on the home page. There's a button that says Sinking Fund 2024. If you click on it, it'll have this flyer, it'll have the FAQ document, and there's also a tax calculator. So you can go on there and put in the taxable value of your home, and it will calculate exactly what this proposal would impact for your home. And one last thing I'd like to mention is we're a public school district. For us to put anything information-wise on our website, it has to be approved through our attorneys. So everything has to be vetted, approved, given the okay, and then we're allowed to put it on our website. So everything that you're receiving off of our website is accurate information.
Thank you. Mr. Blackstock, is there any questions? Karen, anything? Andy? Mr. Richards?
I have quite a few. First of all, I want to thank you for coming tonight and sharing your view on this tax increase. Even though we probably aren't going to agree, I respect your viewpoint and your right to speak. I did watch your presentation at the Township Board where, and by the way, those of you that I handed the letters out to, that's what this is in regard to. And anybody in the audience that wants to get a copy of what I handed to the board, it's at the table back there. But you claimed that at the Township Board meeting that you're required by law, and you said it tonight, to be honest and present things factually. You then implied that the letter that I provided to this board and every other city and township board in our school district was not factual. I do have questions, but before I start with those, I'd like to give you a moment. Do you have anything you want to respond to in this letter? I have.
No,
Okay.
I just want people to understand that we're not allowed to sway, provide a viewpoint. We're just providing information that we have to be factual and accurate in everything that we are giving our public to make their decision on when they go vote.
Okay. Just so everybody knows, I have everything backed up with the facts right here, if anybody wants to see it. And so, first question is, what is the average, do you know what the average increase in property taxes would be with this proposal?
About $34 a month. It's $1 a day on the average range of our home.
It's $2.75 per $1,000.
That's going in the tax bill.
So, depending on the zip code, this is according to Zillow, the average home value on the low end in Marine City would be $216,637, $363,000 on the high end in Columbus Township. But for the average taxpayer, for East China, which is what we're worried about, but that would be $444.18. Is the district over budget or under budget or on par with the 2020 bond updates, by chance?
We have to be on budget. We don't have the opportunity. We have to adjust the improvements and plans according to the dollar amount that we have. So we have to spend accordingly.
Okay, thank you. In theory, just in theory, the sinking fund could be used to build a new high school campus, correct? It could be, it could.
Could it be? Yes, but it's not nearly, we went out for $160 million to build a new high school. So $60 million over 10 years wouldn't cut it.
Well, you guys have $2.6 million sitting in the sinking fund right now, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And then an additional $62 million, the taxable revenue is probably going to fluctuate, but you never know.
You're still $100 million short.
Well, you guys built on, but if you build on more, I'm just saying, just in theory.
No, we heard our communities loud and clear. That's why we went back out and did a survey of what they would like. And they want a St. Clair campus, and they want a Marine City campus. And so that is what we honored when the bond proposal came back out again. If we wanted to try, for a Central High School again, we would have, worked on that end, but we wanted to listen to what our public was asking for, and that's what we did.
And if the board wanted to, they could do that, though. I'm just saying they could. If people got elected that wanted to do that, but, do you have specific cost estimates for the color bullet points provided in this sheet, the orange ones?
So as far as specific cost estimates, no. We do not.
Okay.
Where those orange dots came from, referencing the chart, is we took the value of our properties, and the industry standard had talked about 2 to 3% of the value of the properties should be reinvested in capital improvements. And so we went with 2%, and that dollar amount is what led us to the $6 million or 2.75 mils, along with replacing buses, as well as a technology replacement plan, because we all know technology needs replaced, needs to be addressed sooner than other things. So Mr. Headley has a very thorough technology plan that lays it out for 10 years. And he needs about $500,000 a year, and the buses are about $500,000 a year. The rest is for structures and
which back in the day, I know it used to be out of the general fund, like they used to fund the buses from the general fund until they did the bus bond.
Right.
That was,
Yeah.
But anyway, in 2022, voters voted against the renewal that was proposed at .3992 mils, which is a fraction of a mil. But the new proposal is 2.75 mils, or nearly 7 times what was requested 2 years ago. That's correct, right? Okay. Do you remember this flyer from that election?
I do.
That you guys sent out? Okay, so Because,
I feel like
I mean,
I'm
just,
on
I
trial.
just want to point out something that you guys, you said that you need to, present things factually, honestly, that kind of thing. Well, it says current sinking fund expires June 30th, 2022. And you had other things that said July 1st. Do you know when that actually expired?
December.
Yeah.
The reason why we put June is because we are a summer-only tax levy, and our L 4029 is due for June 1. I'm sorry, July 1, tax levies for the summer.
But,
So we wouldn't, yeah.
well, in 2000, I believe it was in 2004 or 2006, the board voted to change the, it used to be winter tax collection, and then they changed it to summer so that they could get the interest, which is smart, but I'm just saying that that was not true.
It is. So
It didn't, well,
Well, it
it
has
says
to
it
pass.
expires.
It had to pass in order to be on that year's tax levy.
But it didn't pass, and it was still on the tax levy.
Mr. Richley, I
But-
want to do a history lesson.
Well, no, I
I want
understand.
you to ask the specific,
I understand.
questions about the 2.7 line.
I understand,
Just forget
but
about the
that's,
history lesson.
well, but I'm just saying, that's,
Move along, please.
I like what the questions you asked.
Well, and we're happy to answer. There was a reason for that, and the 2.6 that's left in the sinking fund was the last of the funds that were collected under that levy. And we're very guarded with them, because once those are gone, that's it. There isn't any more sinking fund coming in. So we have to be very, very careful with them. As a matter of fact, right now, our tracks in East China School District are not in good enough condition to run a track meet on. So currently, all of our track meets are at away sites because ours aren't in strong enough condition. And about a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago now, we got a quote on repairing that track down at the stadium, and it was $740,000, I think I'm $740, $760, something along those lines, to repair the track at the stadium. So if you take that $740 or $760 out of the 2.6 we have left, you're getting in a position that we don't think is a good idea when that revenue isn't reoccurring. And our turf at our stadium is in year 6 of a 10-year cycle. So all of these things are going to need to be addressed at some point.
okay. With all due respect, that does go to what they were talking about. But anyway, each year, the district has lost students, as you said. This is and then I was going to ask, has that resulted in a loss of revenue, which, as you know, it did not. 1 year in the last 10 years, you guys have lost revenue, the rest have gained, and it's gone from 39.7 to 51.9 million. And so, and it's probably going to increase even further, but, which I'm not complaining, I'm just pointing out you guys have 12 million more per year.
I think you were talking about the declining enrollment, which has been.
Well, correct.
That was there.
Correct, but the money has still gone up, is the point. The revenue has still gone up, correct. So, anyway.
And I had talked about that. a little
Yeah,
bit.
correct.
Okay.
Yep. Now, how much will this tax proposal bring in per year in revenue? It's about $6,289,000, right? Oh, okay. And so I already covered, we have the school district has $2.6 million in the sinking fund balance. So, of the districts that you provided here, I blew it up. So of those districts, first off, many districts don't have sinking fund taxes, especially if they just passed a massive bond tax. We have the highest bond debt by far of surrounding districts, as many people know. The tax rate comparison provided by the district with districts that have sinking funds, do you know how much revenue those 8 districts bring in by chance?
I do. I don't have it in my back pocket. I have it on a spreadsheet on my phone, but I am aware of the revenue that they bring in based on their taxable value.
Yep. And do you know their square mileage, how many schools they have?
I do.
Students, okay. So going off the districts that you used as examples in your graph, Port Huron, Algonac, Yale, Memphis, Brown City, Armada, Marysville, and Almont, according to the National Center for Educational Statistics, those school districts have 41 schools to East China 7. That's 6 times the amount of East China. According to the state of Michigan, the square mileage of these districts combined is 661 square miles to East China's 129. or 5 times the amount. And then the number of students, according to Munitrix, is 17,535 to East China's 3,687, or almost 5 times the amount. All of these school districts combined are far larger than East China School District, have much less bond tax debt. You're asking taxpayers to shell out an additional $6.2 million, which is more than all these school districts with sinking funds combined. I don't know if you knew that or not, but according to the latest L-4029s, all of these school districts bring in $5.7 million. We're asking for 6.2 for one district. That's a fraction of the size of all those combined. So I find that interesting. But all I'm going to say is this. A sinking fund tax is meant to be an alternative to a bond tax, not in addition to one. Especially after voters just approved a $112 million bond tax with debt that we'll be paying off till 2047. 2 years ago, this tax was unnecessary when it was 1/7 the size of what you guys are asking for now, and 2 years later, we're asking for even more. That is not listening to the hard-working taxpayers of the school district. That is greed, plain and simple. Some people believe that the general fund is solely for salaries and benefits and refuse to set aside money for a rainy day or for maintenance. This is how they let the buildings get into poor shape in the first place, and they have no clue how to budget or set aside money. They just shell out cash to the teachers union and then put their hand out to taxpayers like we're their personal piggy bank. The school district has gone down significantly and downhill significantly in recent years, despite spending millions and millions of dollars to upgrade buildings. We were lied to in 2014 about the privatization of services after people voted for the bus bond. Lied to in 2022 about the sinking fund tax expiration date. There's just a significant lack of trust. And in my opinion, rightfully so. The simple fact of the matter is, I'm almost done. No amount of money will make up for piss poor leadership, and that is a problem that you can't write a check for.
Thank you, Ms. Ridgely. Anybody else have any questions for the ladies from the school?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it. Public comment. Any wish to address, anything?
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
So you didn't get any money, extra money from the state?
For this
Foundation.
They didn't do
Well, so
any increase this year at
I
all.
just think that at this point, I didn't come here for this anyways, but I am a voter. They have a huge surplus there. Our governor and our legislation says that they are all for schools and teachers, yet they cut your budget? Have you done this presentation to them?
No.
I think you should. Because I think you're looking at us again. And we've already paid our taxes. And they're taking that money and doing other stuff with it. They actually, I believe, they just took money out of the teacher's retirement fund and moved it. And I just think that's not fair. So I would ask that you do this presentation to them and see if you can get the money that is deserved. And yeah, I got kids around here too. That's my opinion.
I'd like to take it a step further. You need to call your legislators. They're the ones that are- They are not going to give a zero increase to all the schools in the state of Michigan is a crime.
I think so too.
There's definitely got some issues with inflation and everything else. You can't tell me that we did not have inflation in the last year.
That's right.
It's very hard to operate a business with the same cash last year as it is this year. That's the facts. And you can ask them to make the presentation, but it's really, you need to pick up the phone and call the people that
good luck
are in
getting through
Lansing
them.
that represent us.
So,
Because that is the problem.
yeah, I agree. All right, enough said.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Is there, yes.
Oh, sorry.
Mr. Smithy, could you go to the podium if you have questions?
This is just on school district, but we're moving into the
Right.
public comment next.
Is
So,
it part of the special assessment
yeah,
district?
possibly.
Some questions.
I live up the road a little bit, and a lot of years ago, somebody developed our area for 6 little houses. They ran a 2-inch water line back, spread it out to 6 houses, and that's what we've been using. It's tight and needs to be replaced, I'll agree with that. I think the using fire, or running in the mains for the fire hydrants is overkill. If you stand up, we've got a little road that comes in and goes towards the river and then dog legs north, and there's 6 houses along there. Condos north of us, stand on our driveway and look, there's a fire hydrant. It's several hundred feet away from our little development. Now, I took last month off and went hunting, last week off, went hunting, I missed your last meeting. But I think with plans that I've seen, you folks sent us I got some information from you folks a couple days ago, and it shows that there is a new fire hydrant going to be put up at the road, on River Road, by our mailboxes, which is right by our private drive. If you go in and, like I said, in Dog Lake, you can see across, there's another fire hydrant that's 300 and some odd feet away from our area. I don't think that, it started off, it was going to be $150,000 for hydrants and service beach house. And now it's been re-advised or looked at in a different manner, and it's pushing $300,000 now. And listen to you guys talk about 50 million, 40 million, 30 million. I said, you know, ours isn't even a school bus probably, but in my pocket, it's a lot of money. And I was wondering, did the state of Michigan lead abatement money, was that applied for in this project?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
State of Michigan has lead abatement program that they fund for communities that are changing out water systems. Is that applicable for our?
We're working on projects right now for that. It's for water services. Yes, we have to inspect all of them by, I can't remember.
You mean, is there funding for his
Is there
project?
funding?
There's no funding available, there's just a mandate.
Okay. Did anybody ask the adjoining gas company to contribute? When
We tried to make communications with them, and we got nowhere.
Are you the property on River Road? Is
Yeah.
that? Oh, okay, okay. That's fine.
Okay.
He's part of this.
Okay, okay.
A few years ago, I organized a repair of the road, a little private road was mushy. And the gas company happily contributed to the support of that. I was wondering if they were asked the same question this time, since I'm sure if they had a fire on their property and our hydrant was there, they would probably use it.
The address we have on record, we have got no response to that.
Okay.
You have no response? Why is that?
Why are you asking me that?
Well, because I asked you 2 meetings or 3 meetings ago that I would contact them if you didn't want to, and you said no.
Well, you can, but
But you didn't do it, and I wish I would have done it.
I did do it. You weren't.
They're a billion-dollar company.
And I want to point out too that regardless if we have 1 hydrant or 2 hydrants, we have to be able to flush the line. And if we eliminated them all, it would still not change the cost to you. You're picking up the 152, we're picking up everything up to the 275 or whatever it is, so.
How could it double in a year?
We did add the services, they were not originally in the cost.
What was not in the cost?
The services to your home. We decided that we wanted to redo those to save money on concrete and everything else, so it helped out. That wasn't in the original estimate. And we also wanted a directional board to save a lot of landscaping, trees, and driveways again.
I agree with
So
that.
that's more money than just open cut excavation. So it was done to minimize the impact to you
Mhm.
and also make sure you get new services right to your home. So that was part of the cost too.
Well, I think it was a lost way to have this all either go away or go down quite a bit. I think they should have, I'm just saying, in my opinion, I think they should have been notified several times in different ways for them to have a part of this, share this cost of this. Because this is a lot, 25,000, that's a lot. And I know that you have made accommodations, instead of 10 years, 15 years, but it's still a lot per month and a lot per year extra to pay.
I understand.
I keep hearing 500 feet hydrant, between hydrants. Is that the law now?
It's a fire code.
And what's the plus or minus on that 500 feet?
I didn't know
I
that.
mean, It's, because if you go from,
Not more than, I believe is how it reads, 500 feet. But again, that's one part of the whole equation, and Eagle's the one that says you need a hydrant here and here. We also have to have one at the end regardless. It doesn't have to be a hydrant, but it's just easy to make a hydrant to flush the line.
my
Because we
point,
gotta keep the water clean and safe.
I'm making, there are hydrants existing and planned that I think would accommodate our 6 houses without you adding any more hydrants.
I didn't think you heard me, that we have to have at least one for flushing at the end of the line.
If there's no hydrant, what's to flush?
We have to keep the water at the 8-inch main from getting stale or whatever else. You gotta keep that water fresh, so you have to flush it. We do this a lot on a weekly basis at dead end lines. We have to.
There'd be no dead end line there. All you'd have is your city water, your taps going to your house.
Right.
Just like there's a half mile of homes south of us that don't have fire hydrants cutting through their, halfway across their lots. They draw water from the main line on River Road.
You can talk
Are you
Eagle if
gonna
want.
change, are you gonna
You can
force?
talk to Eagle if you want, but that's what their requirement is. The state of Michigan requires you on a dead end line to have that.
How does the line dead end if it bypasses the cell? I don't understand.
It doesn't bypass, it goes in and ends at the end of your street.
No, I don't want that in there. I'm saying we have adequate fire
It
hydrants.
doesn't loop around back to the system. It's not a
Flush.
full loop. It ends at a
The
certain
water has
spot.
to keep moving in the 8-inch line,
That's why it has to be flush.
so you have to flush it at the end. Something our DPW will have to do now.
Okay, all right. You're driving down up River Road. You come to our private road and you turn on that and it goes back and it dog legs to the north. If you don't put a fire hydrant on that road, what's the flush?
The line dead ends there, sir.
No,
But the lines
it
go
goes
dead
right
end
by
there.
there. It doesn't end dead end there. It continues on by, there's no tap there.
It does dead end there,
Well, you have a different picture of a dead end in your mind than I do in mine.
evidently.
Well, I was hoping that somebody would take a look and see if what was going to be done could alleviate us paying for hydrants. But it looks like you used the water system we have, which somebody just like you 50 years ago said, here's what you have to do to build 6 houses here. And now you're telling us, no, that's no good, the rules have changed and you have to pay for it. Doesn't seem quite fair.
I understand, thank you.
I agree. It's not fair.
Anybody else have any comments?
Oh, I do.
Go
I
ahead.
have a couple questions. So, is this the first time that residents in East China are paying for this kind of project? 6 houses are picked out and have to pay this $25,000?
I've been here 3 years, and this is the first special assessment we've had.
What about before that? Has anybody been here longer than 6 years or 3 years?
I've never seen this situation before.
So why is it
Where you have
happening now?
individual lines.
Why? Why is it happening now to us? We're all retired, we don't need this big bill. I appreciate that you went to 15 years instead of 10, but this is really gonna impact our budgets.
I understand,
Have you ever had it done to your house?
yes. I
You
all
have
that.
had special
I have
assessments?
farmland all over that have special assessments for county drains every year.
Well, I have
Sometimes
never
they
had this
Do it
happen
again
to
in
any
3 or 4
house.
years and add to the assessment.
I've never had this done. What am I paying my taxes for? Why don't we take it out of our taxes?
We're taking almost half of it.
There's private lines to each of your homes that the township cannot pay for. Those are the lines that are being replaced and connected to the main. The
Well,
new
they are
main.
being paid for.
That
They're paying for
portion
it.
the township is not paying for. The homeowners have to pay that. That's their private land, their private line to their house.
So
And the
in essence, that we are paying for that line then, you're saying? We are paying for the line from the water
Private
main
line.
to our house?
Yes.
That's included?
Every homeowner has to do that. That builds a new house.
They have to pay for their own water line services and sewer, all the way to the road, to the main.
And how did this get started? I heard that an engineer went down our drive and said, I wonder what these water lines are like now?
Not true at all. Our Department of Public Services notified us that we have an old line there that breaks a lot, and it's not according to ordinance, and we should look into doing this. This happened right when I first became supervisor 3 years ago.
Well, I don't like that we're the first to try this on. I mean, that just seems like you're picking on us. I have another question. Why did the residents on Point Drive that just, you're wrapping that, you know, that up, that you did water and gas, is that correct?
We did water main
Water main.
replacement.
Same thing, right? And they're not paying for any of theirs.
There's an existing main already there that's being replaced. It's 1949, I believe. or
But there
50.
must be an existing main when we are,
There
because
is
we're
not.
getting water.
There's not. There's a 2-inch service branched into 6 homes.
Okay, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Anyone else have some comments or questions? Moving on, consent agenda, C1's financial report, C2 historical commission meeting minutes for September, C3 is meeting date correction. Invitation, approve the agenda as presented, comments, questions?
I'll make a motion to accept consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Support, thank you. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Disbursements, Ms. Hart.
Disbursements, payroll in the amount of $35,769.84. Accounts payable, $428,179.29. $12,498.52 in EFTs. E-checks, $75,302.30. Tax disbursements, $341,202.18. In invoices, $77,185.92, for a grand total of $970,137.85. I make a motion to pay the bills in that amount.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. Support?
Support, but I have one question.
All right, support by Mr. Richards, go ahead.
On page 7 of the invoices, the $965 for the attorney fees, what was that in regard to?
I don't know, we got miscellaneous fees for all of this going on for the special assessment district.
This says labor council.
Yeah, well, we have agreements that was just filed against us, we're defending that. We have, was previous for this for an action, but we're working on that.
Okay.
And,
Is that with regard to the River Road thing?
River Road, yeah,
Okay.
exactly, yeah.
Okay.
That's for that, right.
Okay.
And that's, we're gonna continue with more fees for that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I got.
All right, thanks. Any other comments, questions? If not, clerk, please go to the roll.
Roll call vote. Clerk Smith, yes. Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Supervisor Westrick?
Thank you. Old business is the special assessment district resolution. It's resolution 17-2024. It's confirming the special assessment district assessment role. You'll see the 6 addresses that are listed there. The appendix is what's it referred to, Sandy? Appendix A, I believe, or something?
Yes.
Appendix A is attached, has been modified. It's still portioned across all 6 properties the same, but it's a 15-year payback instead of 10 at no interest. Approximately $1,689.18 is what it will be per resident per year. But that's a modification from before.
And it starts.
And cost of improvements is estimated to not to exceed $272,000. The first $152,026 of the cost of improvements is going to be paid pursuant to assessment against the properties in the district, pursuant to the special assessment role, which we just referred to. The cost of the improvements exceeds the $152,025. Township's going to contribute to pay cost up to $120,000 towards the cost of the improvements. And pursuant to MCL 4171.7, .726. The Board of Trustees confirms the special assessment roll attached here to as Exhibit A. And the first annual installment on assessments detailed in the special assessment roll is due on February 14th of 2025. It's the winter tax bill to date. Subsequent installments are due on the same date each subsequent year for 15 years. Interest shall not accrue on the unpaid balance of the assessments, provided the annual installment is timely paid. If an installment of special assessment not paid when due, it doesn't matter according to this. But anyway. Such, does you guys see anything on yours?
Nope. You're missing a
I
page.
don't know what the terms of that are. So this will be paid with interest back. There is,
With this page, I got this.
you get that one? I don't have it.
Oh,
Can I borrow it?
Yeah.
I see. I don't have that either.
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
Yep.
Such installment shall be considered delinquent and there shall be collected a penalty of rate of 1% for each month or fraction of a month that the installment remains unpaid. All right, and the permit dates. I don't believe so. Anybody would like to view this further, we can have copies made available. We'll be here at the Township Hall for exhibits.
This will be entered into the minutes.
Comments or questions on the resolution as presented?
Sorry, I didn't know.
I should have pulled them off and
How many property owners signed the petition, the new petition?
I believe 4. I don't have that with me.
The easements, for the easements.
He's talking about the petition before. I think it was 4.
And it was the majority of the property.
Right.
Did PCA stake the properties like this?
Yes, he did.
Okay. And then,
And I believe that you talked to them out there when they were out there, right? About the hydrant location. You guys,
No.
I can't hear you, Vern.
did you see the engineer out there when they staked? You saw the stakes and
He
everything?
was like a ninja, he came in like 7 a.m.
Well, you saw the stakes, right?
We went out at 8 a.m. and there were stakes there, it's like, wow.
So,
and then, we're not charging interest, correct?
that's correct.
So, here's the thing, because I talked with a couple of people after the last meeting, and I can't, because people signed the petition to do it, I kind of was like, well, our hands are kind of tied, but after talking to 2 of the, I guess, widowed people that had husbands and stuff like that, but anyway, they're gonna have issues paying it, I mean, that's the point, and so, I'm just gonna read this, but, well, actually, before I do that, there's a couple things that, so for the zip code, did you see that? The zip code's wrong?
Yeah.
It's for it, and then, the time,
Yeah,
the meeting,
attorney.
and then, I think for the Code of Ordinances part, we should, put which ordinance it actually is. And then, let's see, okay, that's pretty much, oh yeah, and on page 2,
I don't have
It's-
page 2.
oh,
Oh, yeah, I do, I do.
where there's 2 blank parts. I circled that, but
I think
that should probably.
Yeah, I have that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, February 14th, 2025.
okay. And then, there's one more thing. I think. Okay, anyway, after listening to the objections of some people at the last meeting, even people that signed it, but in speaking to 3 of these property owners at our last meeting, I have changed my mind on this. 2 of these property owners signed the petition believing that they had no choice, both of which live on fixed incomes and cannot afford, well, then it was $2,500, but now it's almost $1,700 per year in taxes. At one point, the township allowed this mess to occur, which violated our ordinance. That is on the township, not the residents who probably did not yet own these properties. It even says on page 2 of our resolution that these are public improvements. I am not suggesting that these improvements not be done. What I am suggesting is that we fund 100% from our capital improvement fund balance, which we have more than enough. It was the township that caused this issue in the first place, and to tax these widowed ladies or anybody else out of their homes for something that that was the township's fault is both wrong and immoral in my opinion, but that's all
I
I got.
agree.
I got a couple of questions. Are we going with the 15-year for sure, rather than the 10?
Right.
Okay. And then you said February 14, 2025, so we're planning on putting this on this December taxes?
Yes.
So this is all gonna be done in the next couple weeks to put it on the taxes?
Right.
Because that all has to be done like mid-November to have the tax bill out December 1st?
Yeah, after tonight, it should be.
Just making
I
sure,
think the paperwork's correct to do it.
because we gotta have enough time to
Right.
prepare it.
And we'd like to get the project going soon.
Yeah.
For the work, get them a lucky break right now, but, yeah, I think.
Yep, that's all I had.
Can I kind of interject here a little bit? And I understand completely, you know, this is,
Unless you've had it done to you, do you
Well-
really understand?
yes, because when I lived in the country, it's not exactly like this, but you have a well. You pay for that well, you do everything, and yes, you do not have water bills, but you pay for the maintenance of the well and everything, but then when they come through with city water, you are obligated within 2 years to hook up to that city water, so it is your responsibility to pay for the whole line. I mean, the whole line that goes across your property and then into your home. And that can be tens of thousands of
I've been there,
dollars too,
yes.
you know? So it's kind of the same situation.
No, not really.
Well, it is a
No,
little
no,
bit.
no, no, no.
So-
I'm sure we
paid for that years ago
when it was Yeah, the people that were originally were there in those houses, I'm sure they paid their fair share of putting that in. So I don't know why we're not
Well-
grandfathered in and you don't pay for it because we pay our taxes.
Well, the thing is too, when you build a well and you put that in, you've got maintenance, you have to put and it's thousands and thousands of dollars to put a well in. And that's what you pay for, and then the city water comes through and puts that in, and you have to hook up to that. So,
It's not really the same.
Thanks, Deb, appreciate it.
you know.
Yeah. No other questions, motion for,
We need a motion of support.
oh, sorry, I need a motion,
You made the motion?
yes.
I'll support. Good, you ready for roll call? Roll call vote, Westbrook?
Yes.
Smith, yes. Hart,
Yes.
Babel,
Yes.
Blackstock,
Yes.
Not, I'm sorry, absent. Excellent, Ridgely,
No. Thank you. New business. Park one, Mr. Johnson.
evening. I have copies, I wasn't sure if everyone already had received a copy in the
They have
packet.
black and white copy, but they might
If you
prefer.
want a colored version,
We'll take an original.
yeah, might be a little easier to follow along with. Good evening, John Johnson with Acrisure Insurance, formerly Berman Flower. Have been going back and forth on the renewal this year and wanted to just come out and do a brief overview like we have the last couple of years. Hit some of the program highlights that I'd like to mention and then open the floor to any questions that might have come up since last year's renewal. So I always like to start with a couple of the program highlights before I get into the actual coverage portion of the document. And so I do have a few deliverables if you'd like copies, but all of this information is on the website as well, and I think we've talked about a lot of it in the past as well. But the first program I'd like to highlight is the risk reduction grant. I know you have applied for and have been approved for this grant a few times now over the years. I was looking into the notes the last time you've received this grant. It looks like it was March of 2023, and so you are eligible to reapply and hopefully be approved for what they call their risk reduction grant. I know, again, we've talked about this many times in the past, but you can receive up to $5,000 every 12 months, rolling 12 months, if you had an improvement or purchase that might qualify. Some common things are things like security cameras, which I believe was part of your most recent grant application, generators, exterior lighting, dash cameras, things like that. A wide variety of items, though, that have been approved over the years. And the next grant cycle is what they call their spring cycle, but that will open February 1st and will remain open through March 15th. So they did shorten the windows just by 15 days in an attempt to be able to respond quicker now. But other than that slight change in the timing of when you can apply, no significant changes to that program. So would encourage you to maybe come up with an idea for this next cycle, and hopefully we could get you some free grant funds for a purchase there. Another program benefit that I wasn't sure if I had mentioned in the past was a service that Power Plant has partnered with called HR Muni. And this is an HR portal, online portal, as well as an 800 number that you can use free of charge for HR type questions or issues. If you have problems that come up and you'd like a third party to give you some advice on an issue, if you're looking to implement new policies or procedures in-house, update your employee handbooks, things like that. A wide variety of those resources and materials are available to you being a member of the Power Plant. And again, that's HR Muni, which is on the website, and I have a deliverable that I can give you on that. Next is what they call their scholarship program. So if you recall, in years past, the Power Plant did open their grant to scholarship funds as well, but you had to apply during those 2 windows. Now they have pulled that out from the grant, and you can essentially apply for those scholarship funds throughout the year at any point. And it does not disqualify you from qualifying for a grant as well. So if you have any new hires, with the election coming up, if you have new deputies or things like that, that might be coming in to work for the township, and they have some interest in getting certain state certifications or designations or anything like that, depending on what they apply for, of course, and assuming that they are approved prior to signing up for those courses, you can receive partial or full reimbursement for certain state designations and certifications. And so if you have any interest in any of those, there is a small list on the Power Plant's website within their scholarship program of their link, or a link for that program. If there's something that is not listed that you still have interest in pursuing, you can email me and I can get you in touch with the few ladies that head up that program at the Power Plant, and we can inquire and say, this is the specific certification they're looking for. Can we get some reimbursement dollars there? And then lastly is the water sensor program. And again, I didn't recall if we had mentioned this last year or not, but Power Plant has partnered with a company that is a water sensor company that essentially puts those different sensors throughout your facilities free of charge, and then the service is free of charge as well. That if you were to have a leak or a water situation, it triggers those sensors. It generally sends you a notification on a designated phone number or something along those lines, and then hey, we got to get down to the hall. There's water coming in the roof or something like that. And so if you haven't taken advantage of that program yet, again, that's free of charge, and then the annual service is free of charge as well. All that information is on the website too. So just wanted to highlight those few things. I know some of them we've talked about in the past, but just wanted to mention those. As far as the coverage portion of our renewal goes, that begins 4 or 5 pages in. I think it's actually the middle kind of bifold section there. And you'll see no significant changes to any of the liability coverages. So of course we always start with the comprehensive general liability, where we have that same per occurrence limit with no aggregate. We do have a deductible or a co-insurance for general liability, as well as for the wrongful acts liability. Currently, cyber liability is offered through the Power Plan. We also offer it through another party, CFC. Not currently placed through the Power Plan. Same thing with the liquor liability, not necessarily a need for that right now. Wrongful acts liability is, of course, you, the board's coverage for the decisions and actions you take and make on behalf of the township. And then we do have our automobile liability, which would kind of snuck onto the next page there, which is going to, as in the past, be primary for any township-owned vehicle and will be coordinated with any employee's personal vehicles. So I know we've mentioned that in the past as well. The few areas where there were updates or amendments to the coverage are on the property schedules and the automobile schedules and the inland marine schedule. So I know there were some additions as well as some amendments to valuations and things like that. The total property coverage, the TIV, currently is just about $6.6 million, and that's your facilities and contents coverage. And then we have the inland marine schedule, which is the mobile type equipment. And then, of course, we have the auto schedule as well. So I believe there were 2 automobile additions via endorsement during the last policy term, the 2024 GMC, actually 2 2024 GMC Sierras. So you'll see those listed on the automobile schedule. And then as far as updates to the property schedule, I think most of those were more just improvements to the valuation of those structures. Inland Marine, we also received a number of endorsements throughout the policy term last year and then at the renewal when we reviewed those schedules. So those should all be updated as well. And really the improvements to property, inland marine, and then the 2 additional autos were a big portion of your price increase from last year to this year. So when we were factoring in the actual rate itself, went up about 9%, which is pretty minimal, relatively speaking, in our industry these days. The additional increase from 2024 to your current renewal is all due to coverage improvements on property, inland marine, and then again the 2 added autos. So I tried to get through that fairly quickly because I know you have a pretty full agenda, but was there any questions on any of those programs or coverage improvements?
Do you recall what last year's premium was?
9% less. All right? Is that what you said?
What was that?
9% more this year?
9% rate increase, so the overall price increase ended up being more than that. I believe it was just around $24,000 last year. I'd have to see if there were any additional options selected at that time.
Trucks, I think you could add too.
Yeah, so to give you some context, both vehicles were about $1,700 annualized premium for this coming year. Actually, a majority of the endorsements that were submitted throughout the last policy term, they waived all of that premium too. So your expiring premium didn't change necessarily from what we renewed at last year. It's a nice benefit that sometimes they just waive those fees. Of course, when we hit the renewal though, that's when the annualized premium will hit going forward. So do get a little bit of an added benefit of some months of waived premium, but with the renewal, that's when they added those charges for next year. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Johnson? No, I motion to approve the renewal. So moved. Mr. Blackstock. Open the table. Comments, questions?
Roll call vote, Clerk Smith, yes. Treasurer Hart?
Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Supervisor Wester?
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good to see you all.
Thank you.
We have 2 requests for sewer credit. I'm going to take these individually. Action 1, 505 Rochelle Court.
I think that, no, never mind.
Oh,
Our DPW supervisor investigation and Unexplained use of high water.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Does anybody from the township ever get a hold of these people to let them know, like, why we're denying it?
I'm probably sure after this meeting, it is, yes.
Okay, okay,
Deputy driver, or deputy treasurer.
Okay.
Utility bill, or whatever. Yeah.
okay.
The first one is recommended that we deny that request for 16520. I think it just says it.
You couldn't verify it didn't
Just
show.
use
It was just a head bill.
Mhm.
yeah. And you couldn't verify anything, so I entertain a motion to.
I'll make a motion to deny the request for credit in the amount of $165.20 as recommended by the DPW supervisor for 505 Rochelle Court.
Thank you, Ms. Rushel. Is there support?
Support.
Sorry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action number 2 is a request for credit, and that's at 104 Morale. Yeah, happened to hear about this one as well, the broken pipe, and it was a very high bill.
Are you talking about?
Pipe was broken. and-
Merrill Street? Is that you guys?
No.
No, oh, no, never mind.
They had,
Wait.
they had the CK come out to, you got it, what? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, the broken pipe just drained and then went into this home pump up to, our DPW supervisor was out to check it out.
So some pump is not going to the store. Goes into the store.
I'll make a motion to approve the request for credit in the amount of $834.26 as recommended by the DPW supervisor for 104 Merrill Road.
Okay, the motion made, is there support? Support. Mr. Blackstock. Any other comments, questions?
I have one question, which this, I think it's always like this, but where it says credit approved, should we change that to where, like a caveat, approved depending on what the board of trustees does, or no? Is that okay? 'Cause
Are you looking at this down here?
Okay.
Right here.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost kind of like, this part should be done after we approve or deny.
Because if not,
Well,
they
I
could
think this
fight
is
that.
DPW doing their
Right.
inspection.
Yeah.
But this is what gets it to you, then you decide.
Right.
This
Yeah.
is what gets it
This
to
is,
you.
DPW is approving it. That's what
Yeah.
that
Make your own
section was. This is not
Right.
us. This is
Right.
just the DPW saying, yeah, we.
I mean, say we denied it, not that we ever have, but I mean, if we did, could they fight that in court and
No.
say it's?
No, this is just on the recommendation of the DPW supervisor.
Okay.
And if it's something that we don't feel is right, then we do it differently.
Okay.
Okay, made and supported, any other
May
comments,
I ask
questions?
a question? I'm sorry, I don't know proper procedure, but did you deal with the 505 Rochelle
Yes.
Court already?
We did that.
Oh,
That
I'm
was the
sorry.
first one.
Oh, it was so fast that I didn't hear it. I didn't know if we were supposed to say anything or, no. Did you determine that based on the evidence that we presented?
Yes, we got this, which one was it?
The reason I asked is because it was kind of an anomaly. And although Karen is a, respectable human being who paid the bill right away, I kind of thought if you looked at what you sent her, the graph said everything, really. Which normally when you have a leak, and when you have a $500 bill and you've had a steady bill forever, it rose and then it stopped. So that it was, it was kind of an anomaly, unusual, kind of an outlier there. So it was like, well, why did it start and stop? Most leaks start and stay until you find the leak and then you fix it. I mean, you've got a broken pipe or you've got a leak somewhere and you finally find it and fix it. The water,
Yeah, true
Stops.
that, unless like an outside spigot was left on and,
But she was there, I mean, like
I
the
know,
whole.
I'm just saying.
I know, I get it, I get it. We
Well,
have
it's hung up, but then
searched
you-
our brain for what
Then
could
next time
possibly
use
be
the toilet,
short of
you're
somebody
like,
hooking up to your spigot, filling up their pool, and then stop, I mean, which you
Right.
can't prove and you can't, whatever. But anyway, just a single funny one, I just
We
thought, is there
understand.
anything you could do?
We understand it, but it's kind of.
I mean,
we can't do a credit there, then people will come and say, my bill seems kind of high too, and it's.
Well, and not the whole amount.
We have to
I mean,
have
it wasn't
evidence
like, you know.
that there was a leak and where the water went. If we can verify that.
And would it not
sometimes we get
still be happening? If that was the case and it was elevated, my question is, and it's hard to know how to prove that, because for your point of view, or our point of view, I mean, you're looking for water someplace.
Mhm.
So you're looking everywhere, and you're meticulous about it, but it stops.
Mhm.
So I was just kind of hoping that, I mean, this is a little $500 bill, I mean, it's not the big funds of East China schools and stuff. I just thought maybe if there was any kind of consideration to help a single woman with.
I sympathize with you, really, I do. Sometimes I think the same thing about my bill, but I don't.
Just thought we'd ask, I
don't
know
know where
that's
it
what
went,
the
but
board was for, so we
We
thought
have
we'd
to be
try.
able to prove it didn't go in the sewer
Right.
in order
Yeah.
to
We gotta figure it out.
approve credit.
It's hard to, you can't, how do you determine? Yeah, well, thank you. I just thought.
Thank you.
Sorry about that.
Well, it was worth a try, we didn't know. Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
then needs ordered.
We didn't do a roll
One,
call.
one, we're all. I was just getting a question. Not good.
Do a roll call.
Sure.
The second one?
We have
Yeah,
Richard
because we
and
did it
then
on
Blackstock supported.
Correct.
So second. All right, all in favor, Clerk Smith, yes, Treasurer Hart? Yes.
Trustee Babel?
Yes.
Trustee Blackstock?
Yes.
Trustee Richley?
Yes.
Supervisor Rodriguez?
Abstain.
You what?
Abstain. Relative. Now we're on the master plan. We have a resolution in front of us here. It's basically a resolution of concurrence. We're going to support the planning commission's action to adopt the updated master plan. I'll read this real quickly. It's resolution 15/2024. Charter Township East China established the planning commission, planning enabling act. Ended in Township Planning Commission is required by section 7 of said act to make and adopt a master plan as guide for physical development of the township. Whereas an updated master plan was presented to the public at public hearing held on October 8th, 2024 before the Planning Commission with notice of the hearing being provided in accordance with section 43 of Public Act 33, 2008. And whereas Township Planning Commission did adopt the East China Township Master Plan at a regular meeting held on October 8th, 2024, Township Board of East China Township supports the recommendation proposals contained in the updated master plan pertinent to the future development of the township. Resolved, the Township Board of East China Township does hereby concur with the action of the Planning Commission by means of the passing this resolution. Make a motion to approve this resolution and concur with adopting the Planning Commission's action, updated master plan. Any comments, questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. 4 is quarter 3 general fund budget amendments before you. Got a few items to move around as before. There's explanations there. The legal fees, we approved that, we just didn't move it in the budget yet, so that's why that's getting put in there right now. Legal fees, we can for a little bit of stuff as discussed as originally, but some of the stuff we got going on with the special assessment districts and some labor stuff. And the bridges is $1,500, it really is some limestone, a little bit more, just
Cross that.
scratch off the mowing part, it was just some additional limestone on the roads that we bought from the road commission. Okay.
Which
What are you
land?
scratching up? What are you talking about?
It's the last one over here, it says mowing of Rico Road, it's not, that was in our budget, this is actually for limestone, for gravel for roads.
Wording?
Yes,
Right here.
the number is correct, right?
Gotcha.
Oh.
Okay.
21A limestone.
Okay.
It is for pricing. So, having that, I make a motion to approve resolution 16/2024, amending those 3 items as presented.
Support.
Comments, questions?
I have the same objection that I had last time. object not to having the projected fund balances
That's
to
like,
kind of give a picture of the entire budget, where we're gonna, it's like paint a picture of where we're gonna be. And it makes these amendments both inaccurate and lacking in detail. I think, like the health insurance for the township manager, that's something we're gonna have to keep an eye on for water rates.
Yeah, there's no health insurance in this one.
Well, I know, but I mean, I'm talking, it wasn't on the last one either. There, at some point, it's gonna be in there though.
Oh, the fund balance was like almost 200 over this year, so we're well. within
Is that because we haven't spent on the DPW building yet?
No, it's just that our budget was in surplus
Okay.
this year.
And then, we need to keep a closer eye on legal fees next year, I think, but obviously,
We
you
don't-
never know what's
We
gonna
don't
happen.
have a choice in that, you know how that goes. It's not like I call them up to chit chat.
Well, no, I understand that, but, yeah.
I have better people I can call.
Yeah.
I just have a question on the legal fees that pertains to the special assessment district. Is that total separate than the 120,000 that we've already approved, or are those fees
I
going into
put a
that?
number in there that was included in that total.
Okay,
They can be transferred into that, but allocated to that.
okay.
Anybody else have questions? Not for.
Roll call vote. Clerk Smith, yes. Treasurer Hart,
Yes.
trustee Levo,
Yes.
trustee Redstack.
Yes.
Trustee Richley,
No.
supervisor Westbrook.
Yes. Thank you. New business 5, the DTE locomotive project. I know you've heard rumblings about this. We need to make a decision as a board whether we want to accept the donation of this, of the one locomotive. We don't want to. I don't know, Bill, he was.
Right there.
Huh? I don't remember looking that way. Maybe it's the Navy shirt. But Bill has been involved with this intimately, so, what we're looking to do is we formally have to say yes or no, and then we gotta come up with an idea of how much it's gonna cost,
I have,
and then try to find some funding for that, whether it's from our general fund or, some donations and stuff like that, so, if you don't mind, just a quick synopsis on that. What do you think we're gonna do as far as?
all right, so here, I'll just give you these, I'll keep one for myself.
Yeah,
If it doesn't go through, then I don't need them. So, DTE has 2 locomotives over there. They're 1950s vintage, there's pictures of them in there.
that's all we got, so that's looking.
It's not as iconic as the one at Marysville Power Plant, but it's a diesel. It's a nice looking machine, it's got their logo on the side, ready kilowatt. I don't know if you guys probably don't remember that.
I do.
Yeah. But anyways, they agreed to donate it to us, no cost. We just have to move it.
How much does it weigh? I'm curious.
It weighs just under 200,000 pounds.
That's what it was. It's very
So, you gotta set it on something, so I have some connections with engineering. Wally Street lives in the area. He drew the design for the Marysville one, he drew up a design for this. I've talked to people, McGulf Yards will donate the stone. Another friend of mine has got an excavator, he dig the trench, it's actually smaller than you think, it's only 18 inches deep. You put a cloth in, it's all in there, that's that design, it's a hand-drawn one. Then you tamp it down. Simon said they would use their tamper. DT would donate the rails and everything else. So the pad would be donated. To move it from point A to point B is a little bit more complicated. I looked at several different options. It'd really be cool to drive it there, but you can't. I did check.
It'd make a mess of that road.
Yeah.
Well, they do make temporary tracks. I just couldn't track any down. I couldn't get it. But, so, through my contacts, I contacted Barnhart, Heavy Hauling. Their fee, including the rigging, which is was $23,000. That's to put it on a trailer. J.J. Curran, who's another local guy, works for them, Chamaconas, gave me a quote of about $10,000 to lift it. But,
They gotta lift it, put it on the trailer, and then lift it back up.
yes, but you still have, which I didn't get a quote for yet, that's why it's a little bit iffy. You have to get the permits, there's 2 permits that need to have. a county and a state, because it's a state road and a county road, and you gotta move the wires, and you have to have a police escort. So those are the ones that, and I did call the township, or not the township.
Sheriff?
I called the sheriff and they said they would work with the people, and
Yeah.
I called about the
We paid
permits.
for coverage, so they could be here.
Yeah, I stopped on my bike, I stopped to talk to a couple of the guys, and I'm sure we could get it, how much it costs, I don't know.
I think, I did speak to them a long time ago about that. We already pay them to be here in the township every day.
Oh, okay.
We have services. We're one of the townships that contracts with them. So they'll do that while they're here.
But the permits, they wouldn't give me a quote on that, they wouldn't give me a permit. They have to give it to
County?
a bonded, yeah, they have to give it to a bonded, which makes
Yeah,
sense.
they'll have to have one.
But you have to get 2 permits, so I don't know what that's gonna cost. And then DTE, I would like to say that they would do that for nothing, but I don't know that.
Well, the county's gonna want it for, if you're taking Rinko Road, and the state's gonna want it to cross that point.
Yeah, but I'm talking about moving the wires.
How high is this thing?
Well, it sits, I have the dimensions someplace. Sits about 14 feet, but it does sit high. I did have somebody out, I've been working on this for a couple of years. I think the person I was dealing with is retired now. But it sits high enough to where we're gonna have to move a couple of wires.
You probably won't if it's 14, because sitting on a trailer would be 16, and that's what they build most of these for.
Well, hopefully not.
What they'll do is they'll have to have DTE push them.
Yeah,
Longer.
and then
Yeah.
that'd be fine, but you still have to have a crew out here.
But it's not gonna be really DTE, it's gonna be the telephone lines that are the ones that are the lowest.
I think you're right,
DTE's
yeah.
the ones that are above that, they are the problem.
So, doing all that, you got, what, about 25,000 there? No, I'm saying 35,000 there. Incidentals, I would say if you look at about 50,000 for this job, you'd be in a pretty good ballpark area. I'd love to have it right down to the nickel, but I called a couple of the guys today. You know, I got the quote in May, I don't know if they've changed. But the next step, if you guys want to do this, is to bring both those contractors in together and say, all right, how you gonna do it? And then nail it all down. But I did get a quote to paint it. I thought it was ridiculous. It was like another $24,000, so I think we can paint it ourselves, or with a group of volunteers.
It'll probably get spray painted.
It probably would. But I just think that I wouldn't pay that much money to have it painted.
How long do we have to fundraise or whatever?
I
mean,
told-
when are they looking to get rid of it?
I met with the plant a couple months ago, and if we sign these papers, and I will get dispensation. If something happens that we can't take it, they're not gonna say, hey, this is yours, you gotta get rid of it.
Right, that's the only.
But I told them I would think of next spring to try to do it after the frost laws.
Okay.
And then, as long as the people who I had all set up to do the free pad would still be around, because most of the guys are getting a little bit older.
Now, just to clarify, it says 2 locomotives on there, we only.
Right, so we would have to make it very clear you're only interested in one.
They're both the same.
No, the other one's quite a bit bigger.
We don't want that.
No, we want the other. And the local, it's the machine that I would have picked.
No. One of the questions I had was liability. If kids are going to play on it and stuff like that, I mean, I know a lot of kids that got hurt in the one Marysville just with a fall, you know, but is there stuff that we have to do to this thing to eliminate some of the real
So-
hazards?
What I think I have in that pack, and you can read it when you get a chance, is it's gotta be made kid-proof. As far as everything's gotta be welded so you can't pinch yourself or do, but Marysville's had that for years. I don't know how they handle it, but their park manager, I'm sure knows how they handle it. Maybe there's a sign out there.
Play at your own risk or something?
Yeah, something like that, but they've had it for years. I know that the design for the pad has got like a rubberized,
Falls on.
it's, you build the pad, then you put what they put in the play yards.
Rubber mat, yeah, oh,
Yeah.
right.
You know, like a wood chip that's only like rubberized. So,
Rubber ball.
yeah, and the only thing that you'd be able, I don't know if I have a picture of the cab there. It's kind of smaller, but it is kind of neat to go around the machine. You can walk around the front of the machine and stuff. As far as the liabilities, what I suggested before was to contact your
Probably
counterparts.
should have asked John before.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
You know, at Marysville and say, all right, how did you do this? You know, was it, and from what I hear, it's a big hit. I mean, just about everybody I talked to said, oh, I used to play that one.
Yeah.
Again, it's not as iconic as that one, that's an old steam engine, this is a diesel. But,
So one of them's ready, is 213 the smaller one?
yes.
And the other one they're gonna use until 2026.
I don't know if that's true or not now,
Right.
but,
Well, they're gonna see coal, so that's probably
well,
around there.
they're gonna stop coal next year, I think. But that's already, they're not moving coal anymore, that was for Eastern fuel, and they quit burning that when St. Clair closed. So, they don't even need, one of the locomotives to move those cars around that are out there now, that's for moving ash.
Right.
They've got their own machine for that.
Okay. Well, I guess this will start the ball rolling. If everyone is in favor of this, we would formally accept the donation of the locomotive from DTE, and then they'll hopefully will stick around to help us out.
Oh, yeah,
Getting more detailed about what exactly we have to do, try to find people to help us out with it, raise some money, and then possibly have to call us on. But
I have a question.
overall, I kind of like the project.
Right, everyone's on the park commission. Do you have any feedback on that, or I know the park commission said yes, they're interested?
Everyone but one, they're worried about the liability. And I said, for God's sakes, they've had Marysville's for over 65 years, and you know. And they did, it was just regular mulch, it wasn't even rubber mulch, I went up and checked it out. But they just welded everything shut so nobody, and
Yeah,
I
nobody
don't
Used to
know.
be just dirt around it for years. I
But,
remember
but
that.
we think it's a great idea for the park. The wood playground is getting a little old and run down. That it's a nice, it's always been a great draw for Marysville, so we would think that it would be a nice draw for East China.
And at this point, they asked me where I thought I would put it, which I don't really care, I'm just looking for something easy to get it to. Would- You know, the parking lot just on that side of the play yard, there's a spot there that, there's actually a culvert there, that I thought it might look good there, but if you guys do decide to take it, you can put it wherever you'd like.
We're working on that now with some plans and everything anyway, so yeah, I mean, I think that's what our park manager said, same thing. So what are your wishes? Everyone?
I'm for it. Thank you for all the work that you did, seriously.
thank you.
You did a lot of work.
Absolutely.
So is that a motion to accept the donation of the DTE locomotive?
So moved.
And then we'll start doing a budget and more details and stuff, and we'll work together on that.
All right, and if anybody like, I know, Vern, you are into,
I don't know nothing.
maybe I should start saying that.
I'll put it on.
If you have other suggestions as to how we could do things, helicopter did
And we can pick up 100
Yeah,
tons.
it's a little heavy for
100
them.
tons is a lot of
that.
weight.
Yeah, but
All right, there's been a motion made as a support. Mr. Blackstock. All right. Any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate all
All
the
right,
work. We'll
thank
be in
you.
touch.
Thank you.
The last time I asked to have this put on the agenda, we've had communication from our park manager and with our township manager about the dog park. And there has been some communications back and forth with us about possible wetland issues over there where those trees are. And I'm almost positive that's a regulated wetland. There's things you can or cannot do. And I believe the chair of the Parks Commission had contacted someone there, and also the drain commission. The drain tile, if you put a drain tile in, it has to be at the high water mark, which is the top bank of the ditch, so it's not going to drain that at all, you know, so it's not going to work there. The
Are you
park,
talking like the back part where the trees are,
where
where
the
the hill
trees
comes
are
down?
to that side of the dog park there, it's just bad all the time.
Yeah.
I do believe it's permitted, you can cut trees down, well, you can't remove stone, so, but it needs to be filled or drained, one of the two. I don't think we can use it, but, there's been some discussion about, at the park commission level, about, relocating down to the end of Rico Road. There's 4 ball fields over there, we have 2 by the soccer field, 2 down at the end, none of which are being utilized. And I don't know why, but people aren't playing softball anymore, what's going on, but.
Oh, I definitely know.
Yeah, so, the comments were made that we should maybe possibly take the ball fields that are down there, one of them or both of them, and possibly make a bigger dog park or 2 dog parks, one for bigger dogs, one for little dogs. I don't know, I haven't checked into it, but there's a lot of stuff and grants out there for this stuff too. And I don't know, they make little toys that they can jump on, I don't really know what they do, but we have the restrooms there, we have the parking there, we just need to move fencing or add fencing, but anyway, I wanted to bring it to the board to see what their wishes are. I don't think the current location works, and there's not much we can do with that area. I think the park manager said possibly turn that into
Vern, that's actually the reason.
planning area and stuff like that, and incorporate that wetland into it, but that's what she was saying, so that's where it's at, and then Ellen's here to talk a little bit more about it, so.
First of all, the whole Parks Commission, which would have been Mr. Babel, Mr. Miller, Mr. Wills, all of us, we absolutely voted against it. There was some talk about, first of all, we all went over, if you notice, there were 7 people at the park for the dogs tonight, but we went over there and we talked with the owners. They did say, when it's wet, it's miserable for their dogs, but I researched what it costs for the diamond. I found out why we don't have any softball anymore, and it was because we priced ourselves higher than everywhere else. So Mr. Deneen, that had been ahead of it for more than 20 plus years, said we had to go where it was cheaper. With that being known, I also know it could be possible we have a league next year. I also looked at all the pricing since 2017 that you paid on the dog parks, put in over $8,000 just recently. And it sounds like an easy move, but that baseball diamond was over $75,000 plus all the like refurbishing of things. And the commission was very uncomfortable with putting a dog run on there, and then maybe in 2 to 5 years, baseball, softball's a big deal again. So, that's a lot of money invested. I also know that you'd have to move water over there because as it is right now, if you haven't noticed, there's a lot of cement slabs, there's cement picnic tables, there is even water that is for the dogs, so it's not as easy, and all new fencing. Just the one fencing, we got a quote just to split the park right now because it's one big area. Split it for small dogs, large dogs, and they're talking $15,000. So to put some fencing up, it's not just a quick, cheap fix.
Oh, I don't think so either,
but we at least had Mr. Simons come in and say, okay, is this even feasible? Because like you said, it's wetlands. It's not like we usually take our park manager's word for gold, but on this particular issue, all of us were just a little uncomfortable unless there was such an exorbitant amount of money that it's like, well, that is crazy. But you can never really do anything with this front part if you move the diamond, move to the diamond. Plus, there's always which the park manager has said, they don't always remove their dog waste. Well, that's by the pavilions. You're going to be there in the summertime and, with the wind blowing and you're like, oh boy, yay. So, just maybe some things to think about. Again, we always really follow her lead most times, but the whole commission disagreed on this, unless it is so expensive or cannot be fixed in within reason. We think that it could. So we're still looking into that. But that's where it sits at.
Keeping it the same location, just adding a
Yes.
small section.
Yeah.
I talked to Pam the other day, and one of the ideas that she kind of came up with too was you guys are talking about bringing the prices down potentially. So that
for baseball?
So that
Well,
might
once I
bring
found
in
out
more
what went
people.
on and I know who, like I said, ran it for 20-plus years, probably longer than anybody. And yeah, so I'm like, oh, well, I know how you can get back in, so it definitely could be.
Yeah, I just noticed around the whole area, there's a lot less people playing softball and whatnot too. The other consideration that I had
Soccer's
is,
a big thing.
yeah, soccer is, and we have two great diamonds over there, but the ball diamond serves the township residents, but it's a team and some fans, whereas the dog park is over the hall, and you have I can't believe how many people go to that.
Yeah, there's a
dog park.
lot.
Oh, yeah.
There is a lot.
And what we're trying to do, and it has to do with what we talked about with recreation too. We got surrounded by communities that do a lot for rec and everything else, and we're not getting that feedback anymore. I want to take the money and put it into stuff that people will utilize. Those ball diamonds have been vacant for a while, and I remember my wife played with those ball diamonds before they stopped, and they complained all the time about the diamonds not being in great shape, and I get it, but there's only so much money you can put towards it. And then the umpires would never show up or whatever, you know, it was a big hassle. And a lot of those people all stopped playing, and I think it's a shift, you know, and what
The
people do.
women's league did get
Pickleball's
older,
great now,
but
you know,
not
it's
men.
getting different, so.
Yeah.
Well, we even had church leagues.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We had Little League starting to come and ask to use some of the fields for practice.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, we required this huge liability policy, and then the
Yeah.
fees went up. Soccer left, baseball left,
Yeah.
everybody was gone.
Yeah.
We used to have 300 kids plus on Saturdays there,
Right.
all season, spring, fall, I mean, it was like amazing.
Yeah.
I want to focus our money and our efforts towards stuff that people will use, and it's township residents, I want to kind of really reinforce that. It's for our township residents. I know that people come from wherever to play, that's great, but I'm more concerned about our residents too, because it is our township park. I mean, not that we don't want other people to come, but I think that most of the people that are there, you know, a lot of them come from our area or surrounding areas.
It's a
It's
public
fine
park.
still, it's still fine, but it's,
That's what you want people to
Right.
use it.
yeah, I want it to be used, it's just sitting there, not doing anything. And
Yeah.
that gives you more room to expand down there. Now, whether we can get someone to draw this up to see if it'll fit where it's at or whatever, I don't care, right? I don't want to be spending $30,000 for where it's at, to be honest with you.
But the cost could be just as much for you to pipe water over for the
Yeah.
dogs, and pour all that cement and put in that
Well,
fencing.
we've got water in the bathrooms right there, dude, that's not an
The
issue.
dogs don't go there to drink. If
And
you
we can
go
put
over, there's
Our
their own
DPW can put a
water.
water line in for $500, but that's not the issue,
Question, have you looked at the south end where the soccer fields were?
No, I haven't.
There's a bathroom over there, there's a driveway over there. Most of those soccer fields were not official soccer fields, they were just a field.
Wow.
Yeah, they weren't grading real well.
This corner, I believe, is drier. The issue was is when that dog park was put in, that was the only available space that didn't intrude on baseball or soccer. There was nowhere else to put it, and we knew that was an issue at the time. But now soccer is not a problem.
They went elsewhere
Yeah, they're not here.
They went
This is
elsewhere.
like
They're here.
because of price.
If it's a relocation issue, instead of tearing out a $75,000 ball field, which I believe we did make improvements to, with fixing fencing 5, 6, 8 years ago, why not use some of the drier grass area on this side of the South Drive?
The parking was a concern, just a thought too, because there's very limited spaces there at the dog park now, so we want someplace that you can get more people to be parked.
200 cars along there, so I can prove that.
Right next to the basketball court.
And again, yeah, I don't care, I think there's better spots that, the whole park's not being utilized in soccer or baseball, like I said.
The only question I got
Pick
is,
someplace.
how did that become a wetland when, before Edison put that dirt
I
out
need you,
there?
I need you to call Eagle and ask them that question, because they want
you
all
guys-
the little
when you put
ditches in
the
my
sled
field
hill
to be
in, you made
wetlands now.
Because if there was no sled hill there, there'd be no water trap. 'Cause I
Oh,
remember
believe me.
when I was a kid, I used to play with it before the sled hill was there.
In my opinion, all of these
That was
are
right.
trapped water areas, but they call them wetlands, and they're regulated.
Just curious.
I won't even get into it, but I have personal issues with it.
Well, I would say.
All the little ditches we run in our fields, they want them to be linear wetlands now. You can't work them anymore. It's getting ridiculous.
I guess another question, I know it was brought up here for discussion, but is this not a Parks Commission issue?
Well, that was my next question.
Yeah, well,
is I thought,
we
you
have a
know, if we
request
voted on
for
it,
budget for
Right.
money for where it's at, and I want to get ahead of the game on this.
Well,
And-
their budget's, what, 30,000 they're asking for the dog park? To make the improvements that they want to make?
no matter where it ends up.
Correct.
Right, no matter where it ends up. We do know that, you know, if it costs 10 times more than that, we know we're not gonna do that, but,
But there's a
and we have to have a, you know, a second plan, but,
I think somebody with the park commission was talking about it, maybe you were, but there is a lot of grants out there for dog parks.
mhm.
You know, and we could make a new plan of where we think it's gonna work, whether it is there or not, and start getting grants together for it, you know, let's do this, let's do that. Get the basics there for now, but let's
Right.
expand on that. But we don't have a whole lot of room to expand where we're at. That's my fear. We're kind of limited.
I would not like to see the baseball diamond areas used at all. I mean, there is a lot of money already put into that, and, you know, in 5 years, that may, you know, be the thing, and then we're gonna say, oh, the dog park is there, we gotta do this now. I would say the dog park, if you left that area there for the little dogs and found another area drier for the bigger dogs, or
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
it needs to be expanded though, because it is kind of small for whatever.
Actually, they don't complain about the size of they complain about it's wet,
Yeah.
so, size is always.
You're talking about the soccer fields or beyond that?
No, just towards M29.
Right. Yeah, those areas
Just
there.
south of the South Drive,
Right.
where it starts to slope up a little bit. I don't know
Yeah.
where we didn't have like 30 soccer fields.
No.
We only had like 2 soccer
Right.
fields, and then we low cut the grass so they could have little kids play soccer on 10 more fields. It's just a field, we don't even need to cut it. It's just a wild field. Half of that is left in the wildflower, I believe.
Yeah.
So in that area, is that another option to look at, as opposed to tearing out a...
Do you think that's a possibility
Right.
that they might want to
Oh, I
play
think,
something out over there?
yeah, it would not, yes, yes, we just really are opposed to the baseball diamond,
Yeah.
really opposed,
Yeah.
so.
Well, my biggest concern was, you know, just leaving it where it's at is limited, but we can put it somewhere else. Maybe, the other comment I want to make too is not, park commission could decide that, that's great, but they shouldn't be the ones out talking to Eagle or road commissioner, coming up with, that stuff that, we have a director of public services that can do that for you. So I would ask that, through our liaison, those types of requests should go back to the township hall for, they'll work on it. They'll go through with that for you, and that'll make it easier too.
Yeah, thank you,
So I think that we need to direct that to happen as well.
I hear you.
So maybe let's take a look at that, and I know they're gonna have a meeting, would you take that back?
On Thursday.
Would you take that back to them?
Yeah, absolutely.
What we're talking about?
Yep.
Okay, that's all I wanted on that. All right, that's it. Any announcements? Anybody?
Thank you for your input on all
Yeah,
that.
thanks. Thanks for coming.
Appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
I do have a question about this FYI.
Mhm.
Who is this addressed to?
There's a few people, a few residences in the township that have a shared line. Most of the time, it's one house has a line, and they build a new house, and they're like, well, I'll just tap in my line and let you have it. Very similar to kind of what they have, but,
That's what
I was gonna say that.
and our ordinance doesn't allow for that, so they're directing that they have to separate it.
How many really?
14.
14,
Were they all in the same area?
Mostly.
for the most
I
part.
can give you those specific addresses if you'd like.
Yeah, please, after, yeah. Thank you.
So we're just directing them that they have to have this done, and we can assist, we're gonna do the same as far as that, with the better fee, but, so,
Okay.
all right.
And then, are we done comments or no?
Yeah.
Okay. Was all the equipment from Chamberlain that was moved now? I haven't had a chance to get on it. Okay. And then, we kind of talked about the River Road property situation already. I sent you an email about that gentleman that came to one of our meetings a while back about the water bill. Did we ever send somebody over there?
Yeah, we did a long time ago, way before that.
He Lisa, the.
No, Fournier.
Yeah,
Mr. Fournier, yeah.
Yeah, our DPW person,
Did
supervisor
not
was
follow
there.
up with him.
Correct.
He was out there initially when they looked at it.
Well, the first one, then when he came back and appealed it, we said we were gonna have someone reach
Correct.
out and touch base with him, and he said no one ever did.
Correct.
Okay.
So
To
can we
follow
get
up.
somebody?
Which address?
3825 Riverview Terrace.
We'll have Dwayne take care of that.
Okay, I'll double check.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
It was a couple meetings ago.
Yeah, yeah.
For a credit request.
And then one more thing. So at the last meeting, I asked about recreation. So is the committee dissolved at this point?
Not dissolved, just inactive, I would call it for right now. I mean, they're still interested in talking about things coming up and see if we can get something to work, but as of right now,
Because
just after the fall plan.
Okay, because after the last meeting, I sent an email out to the Golden Park Commission just to let them know, you know, communicating what was communicated,
But
but
it's not to say that the idea might not come up, you know, if I sure get renewed interest, it's still there. We're just gonna focus our efforts on something that has interest right now.
okay. Because there are people that are interested in doing it, but like I did mention, you know.
Well, I'm hoping they come forward,
Well,
because
right,
we're more than happy to do that if we can get some interest in it, absolutely.
Okay,
All right?
that's all I got.
Cool.
No,
Amy?
awesome. Oh, wait, I do, sorry. Early voting starts here at the Township Hall Saturday for 9 days in a row, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
I thought you were gonna say the date elections changes tomorrow. so
You
we
can
don't
come
have to
in
do
and
that.
vote, tabulate your ballot. People can come in and tabulate their AV ballots as well. And that's all, of course, locked up each night. Everything's sealed and
Thank you, Ms. Smith, I appreciate it.
certainly.
Everybody have a safe and happy
Okay, I
holiday.
have one more
We
question.
have I did get a letter that Ascension's gonna be, it's Henry Ford Health that's bought hospital down here.
Yep.
Just wanted to put it in front. That number, it's gonna be called Henry Ford.
I do have one other quick question now that you said that. You know, we normally observe Halloween trick or treating hours the same as Main City, correct? Usually 5 to 8.
I think we should make it fine.
And I should have thought about that for the newsletter.
I go to 9, so
5 to 8.
Go till the candy runs out.
Trick or treat.
no more games to skip.
Okay.
Yes, I had two more questions.
We can probably address your comments after the meetings. I would want to talk to you about those things anyway, so. If not, the
Okay.
motion goes through.
So,
Herb, mo- is the motion
Blackstock.
All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Oh.
52.
Thanks.
Okay.
All right,